Hi, everyone. Dan Rockwell here. I'm the Leadership Freak, and this is another episode in Leadership Freak TV, an experiment that I'm doing here in 2018. Just see if it gets some traction and see if it's useful to my audience. And I have today a guest, author of Radical Innovation. Her name is Sunnie Giles. Welcome, Sunnie.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, the book title is The New Science of Radical Innovation.
The New Science of Radical Innovation. Yeah, if you do a search
Yeah.
wrong way, go to Amazon, make sure to say The New Science. Okay, thanks. And Sunnie, tell me a little bit about yourself before we start talking about our topic.
Sure. I grew up. I was born and raised in Korea, and I came to the United States to go to college. And my undergrad was in accounting, but I ended up actually doing marketing and business strategy and business consulting with Accenture and marketing with IBM and Samsung. And here I am. Now I'm doing leadership development and organizational consulting.
Wow. So you were originally an accountant.
Yes, I was, if you can believe that. So don't give me any accountant jokes. I know about all of them.
No. It's my wife had her own business. She's a CPA.
Oh.
And
Okay.
she's not doing, she handles our business now, but she doesn't do accounting
Right.
for others, which is so
Right.
fantastic. I
Yeah.
get all my accounting done in-house like that.
Lucky you.
It's a great savings, although she may want to raise after this. I'm not sure. Yes. So you came up, you were 18 or so when you came from Korea to go
19.
to 19?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm just fascinated about what happened for you when you came to the U.S. to go to school, just on a personal level.
Well, so I came to the United States because back then in Korea, I mean, things are very different now, but back then in Korea, it was not easy for women to get ahead. So I wanted to get an education in the United States. So I came here, and I worked for Seoul Hilton to save money for 18 months, and I saved $1,200. I came to the United States and bought a one-way ticket to my school, Brigham Young University. And I paid a deposit down for my dorm room and bought some bedding and silverware, and I was left with $70 in my pocket. I had no idea I was going to make my rent the next month, let alone my tuition next semester.
Wow. And, an accountant shouldn't be quite as brave and risk-taking. You should be more conservative.
I know it, but I didn't know I was going to study accounting back then. I was just starting college.
You were young and foolish.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, congratulations for that. That changed your life, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely has.
So let's just make a jump to the new science of radical innovation for a second. And what is it that interests you about this topic?
Well, so my PhD is in systemic psychology. So what that means is we study, I studied marriage and family therapy, basically, but it was the principles that govern people as elements in a system instead of intrapsychic, looking at you as an individual and figuring out what's going on. And so from the systems perspective, my studies led to quantum mechanics and complex adaptive systems, neuroscience, and all these other, and when I saw the common thread that tied all of them, that's when I said, okay, I have to write a book. I don't want another poor squab to sit there for 3 years to figure out this consistent theme. I have to do that for humanity.
Wow. Yeah, fantastic. So let me ask a basic question. From your point of view, what is innovation really?
Well, so there are two different types of innovations in my view. So innovation is anything that you can do to improve how you conduct business. That's limited to the corporate level, but there could be personal level as well, so that you actually radically innovate yourself, so to become a better leader, become a better person. And so radical innovation, there are three elements, in my view, that will satisfy the conditions for radical innovation. Number one, it has to show 10x improvement, whether it is a perceived benefit from the customer's point of view, or 10x revenues, 10x speeder, so 10x faster, 10x cheaper, 10x, whatever it is, better. So it has to be a 10x. It's because if you don't have that level of improvement, customers won't perceive that as radical. Mm-hmm. And that's in a perspective from Peter Thiel as well. So that's one of the conditions. And the second condition is that it provides a platform for everybody to graze on. And so complementary products and services can build on top of yours. And the third condition is that it has to be a radically different way to produce, to create value. So it could be any component in the value chain, but it has to be different. So those three things.
That seems like a high bar.
It is. That's why only there's a very few examples of radical innovation that fundamentally reshapes the human history.
So what's an example of radical
Internet.
innovation? Okay.
The internet is an example of a radical innovation.
Okay. Because
it didn't stop at all in a single point solution. It became a platform for so many other things to build on top of.
Okay.
And it, for example, in an aspect of that email, it is more than 10x better than writing snail mail.
Got ya. Okay, so the bar is high for radical innovation, and the internet or email would be examples of radical innovation. I'm just interested in some of the external factors that have an impact on this.
The environmental factors, yes, of course, that is such an important perspective because a lot of the times when companies fail to adapt to the environment, that's when they actually go out of business. If you think about the companies that went out of business, like for example, Blockbusters or Circuit City, those companies, they could not adapt to the new changes in the environment. And so any type of leadership success has to be defined in terms of your adaptability to the changes in the environment. Okay. And so if you have to change faster than the speed of change in the environment. Otherwise, you will get obsolete.
Okay, you're scaring me now. It's change faster. And it's true, right? I mean, the world is changing so fast.
Right.
What tips do you have for leaders to be able to to adapt more quickly, to change faster?
That's what my book is about, actually, because it's not a simple answer. And there's a whole theory behind what they need, why they need to change the way that I'm suggesting they need to change. It has a lot to do with neuroscience. So we need to understand the concept of neuroscience, how our brain is built and what the hierarchical needs are of the brain so that you can meet those needs of, for example, so there's, I have 6 layered competencies, leadership competencies. At the very bottom layer is self-management, so that you can provide safety for people around you. If you don't manage yourself as a leader, you cannot create safety for people around you. And if people don't feel safe, they can't differentiate themselves, meaning they can't go out and explore and, come up with different ideas and try different things.
Yes.
And you have to do that and so that you can create a meaningful connection. So I talked about 4 things so far: self-management leading to safety, which leads to differentiation, meaningful differentiation, diversity of thoughts, diversity of, different heuristics to look at the world differently and having different opinions. And when you put those together in connection, in creating a cohesive team connection, that's when the connection is going to be a lot more meaningful. And when you can do that, then you can create an environment where people can learn faster, learn better, and read the signals from the environment better, more accurately. And when you can do a good job with learning like that, then radical innovation is a serendipitous result. That just happens by accident when you can do the 5 things before that.
I like the happens by accident thing.
Why is that?
I don't know. It feels spontaneous and fun. In other words, put the right ingredients together. And then you can look for and anticipate that you're going to get at least improvement.
Right.
And if you're fortunate, you could get radical innovation.
Right. But you don't have to just sit there and open your mouth and hoping that something will fall into your mouth. That's not what I'm saying. It's it's a serendipitous result. But the 5 preceding competencies are what you need to be doing to provide the environment, the culture within which it can happen.
Okay, so let's go back to the beginning of this, like with self-management, and then safety really kind of lights my brain up a little bit because I get this, make it safe for people to try things and fail and learn and those type of things. So let's go to self-management. What's important here?
Well, so self-management is that. So, for example, if you look at people, if you have a boss who is constantly getting angry with you, or constantly, that doesn't provide any filter of stress from their supervisors to you directly without filtering that out, then you are feeling the full intensity of the stress. Or somebody who always has a negative view of the world and who is always criticizing you, for example, then you can't thrive. You can't feel safe. When you don't feel safe, you're always watching your back and your reptilian brain lights up and your amygdala keeps lighting up. Then you can't reach out and connect with other people. And it's the connection that provides resilience for you to keep trying and know it, and it's okay to fail. And the resilience comes from connection with people. When you know that they will love you no matter what you do. When you know that they will be accepting of you no matter how many times you try and then you fail. Connection is so important because it provides resilience for trial and error.
That's so great. So you're not talking about gritting your teeth and trying harder. You're talking about building relationships that sustain you and encourage you. Open your heart, open your mind.
Yep, absolutely.
Wow. Wouldn't it be great if organizations were filled with that?
I know. So that's the problem, is that, I become it becomes a heresy when I become a heretic when I say, you need to love the people who work for you and, love the people in your team. What do you mean love? That's like emotion is the 4-letter word in the workplace. But you have to have more emotion because emotions are what connection is made up of. So without emotions, you can't connect. So that's why if you to provide those emotions that facilitate connection, you have to do a good job with self-management. So, managing your negative emotions better and then unleashing your positive emotions that you can connect. So that's why they all build on each other.
Wow. Powerful. So I want to go to this love people thing. You're right. I mean, you just don't use the L word in the business world. It's like frivolous and fuzzy, and it belongs for your boyfriend or your girlfriend.
Right, exactly.
What does it mean for a leader to love the people?
It means you love the potential. So maximizing the potential of your people more than you love your reputation, more than watching your back, more than getting ahead politically, more than your self-interest. Okay. You love maximizing the potential for that person.
It feels like working to advantage others. Don't putting others, and you got to be careful here. You don't want to talk about being a martyr, but
of course not. Yes, yeah.
Putting others ahead. Putting their interests, lifting other people up.
Right. Yes, exactly. So that's a good point that you just brought up, which is that it's a balance. That's why differentiation is such an important concept. I said differentiation must come before connection. Connection, the love concept we're talking about is the concept of connection. But differentiation, another critical concept in the category of differentiation, is setting firm boundaries. So if you don't have boundaries, then you are not differentiated as an individual, and you're just too porous, and then you try to define your self-worth through other people's approval and things like that, then it won't work. So that's why you need to be differentiated as a person first, and then you come together as a team. Then you create a really powerful, cohesive team.
Yeah, so I start to feel like you bring your real self, your whole self to the team. Don't think that you're going to meld into one being, 6 people.
Correct.
It's to bring your best self, bring you into that situation. Right.
That's correct. So that's another important concept you just brought up. Bringing your whole self to work. There's no such thing as work-life balance. It's not like it's a zero-sum game where if you put more into work, then you bring less to, to home. You need to bring the whole of you everywhere you go.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you for, how a leader might get started on this journey. But before I do, before we end up, your book is The New Science of Radical Innovation, and it's a great book. Thanks for spending time here with me. You're welcome. And what's a tip that you would have for a leader who wants to, go on the path of radical innovation?
Okay, so that is like such a big question because that's what my whole book is about. So what I would say,
read your book then.
yeah, exactly. That's what my whole book is about, because it's about how to innovate and what kind of, so that leads to our next question, which is like, what's the relationship between leadership development and innovation? And because the things are changing so much in the environment, and you have to change faster than the environment as an individual and as well as the organization. So to do that, again, self-management, which builds on top of, and then which makes it possible for you to make other people feel safe around you, which makes it possible for them to, have different opinions and move forward in their own pursuits and have their own separate and be their own separate beings. And then when you combine the two together, combine all of them together, then you become more cohesive team. And so if I just talk about one thing, I guess that the most important thing as an individual, managing yourself is the most important thing. And what organizations need more than anything is tapping into our learning brain, which is the cortex brain, which is the outer bark, which we can't get there until we satisfy the brain's safety and connection needs first. So to tap into the learning, that is what we need to do most. And then, organizations will say, we just want to tap into the learning brain, and they don't understand there's preceding steps they need to do. They don't want to do the hard work because that's what's hard. But there are prerequisites. So we need to understand that concept.
So being innovative is not like slapping a Band-Aid on an organization.
No, of course not. No. So it's the worst thing you can do is putting somebody in charge of, Department of Innovation and giving them the budget and say, go, make innovation happen. It doesn't happen like that. No. So you need to use, corporations need to use, the framework of leadership development to change the culture of the entire organization so that they can produce, it can catalyze innovation.
Yes. So much of this seems, from your point of view, to hang on the type of leaders that are in that organization and how they develop themselves. I mean, you start with self-management, and that's kind of a leader's point of, what they're doing for themselves and how they're interacting with others. Am I understanding that properly?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So it has to come from within. When you can manage yourself better as a person, then you can become a better leader. It's so weird because I see this all the time in companies. When they think somebody is ready for a leadership position, they just put them in charge. I mean, this is your department, these are your people, and they don't have a really cohesive, systematic way of training the person. They just, it's just they expect them to do it, but it's counterintuitive. There are a lot of principles that are counterintuitive, and that's why so many leaders derail.
It's so interesting that you say this because I have leaders asking me, how do I get new ideas from my team? How do we get new ideas? And it's not an innovation team, right? It's not the innovation department. It could be in manufacturing, it could be wherever.
Exactly.
And I ask for new ideas, and everybody kind of looks at each other, and nobody knows what to say.
Right.
So you got to start back, manage yourself, right? And create that safe environment. So there's a lot of work that needs to get done before you really expect any sort of innovation to happen.
Well, but it can happen concurrently. So you don't have to say, well, for us, then it's going to take us years for us to become an innovative organization. It doesn't work like that, because it's the change and the input of change versus the output of change. It's not one-to-one. It doesn't work like that. So when you build a critical momentum, it can happen overnight like that.
Wow. So work on the internal dynamics, work on the leaders, work on leadership, and at the same time, you should start to see these improvements.
Absolutely. Yes.
Right.
It's like you're flying by the seat of your pants. It's just the same concept in lean manufacturing or lean startup. It's the same concept that can be applied into leadership development as well.
Okay. So, Sunnie, your book is The New Science of Radical Innovation. Thank you for your book. I am actually not in my office today, so as you can see, and so I don't have a copy of the book. Do you have a copy of the book to hold up right there?
Yes, I do, right here.
Well, there you go. Good author. Fantastic. Thanks for that. You can get that over on Amazon, and
thank you.
Take a look at that because it's fantastic. I'm thankful for your time today. And
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thanks for all your insights.
Thank you.
All right, take care now.
Okay, bye.